Buddy, I'm Mike the Man, and you're watching Case Closing. And I thank you, Julia Turner, so much for what you're sending my way. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I don't always respond, but I'm reading it and I'm dissecting it alongside many other pieces of material that I am looking through on a daily basis. It's something that I can't help doing. I need to do it. And yes, that little short video. I was at the golf course, but all I could think about was that's where actually I can think very clearly in the swimming pool and at the golf course. And I couldn't stop thinking about my next video, my upcoming video. And so I saw this real dirty mirror, and everything was pretty green, my outfit and the grass and everything. So I figured I just make it. I don't know. I have these moments where I just feel the need to do something, and hey, I just do it. So, Julia, I believe it was you who has sent me a video called Sebastian Rogers through the words of Chris Proudfoot that I have already previously played. And there was another video in there through the words of Katie Proudfoot, which is 40 minutes long. The channel is called Case Analysis. And they have also stuff about Karen Reed, this is one case, by the way, I have never gotten into. I haven't gotten into it yet. I mean, it's really strange for me because I read so many updates, but I haven't really connected the dots. I haven't really even, I'm either into something 100% or like 0%, meaning it doesn't even register with me. Which is why I haven't gotten into the case. I haven't talked about it. I haven't even mentioned it. And the same also with Richard Allen. I do, I have seen, I can't help but thinking that the way he walks and the bridge guy, I see similarities there, definitely strong ones. And what he said in these conversations from prison, it sounded like a pretty reliable statement, you know. So of course people talk about, they got the wrong guy, and what bothers me about the case is that he volunteered to call law enforcement to say he was in the area. I haven't analyzed any of his stuff yet. I have only, seen a little bit less probably than many of you guys. And like I've said, I feel compelled to continue with Sebastian Rogers simply because in these videos, usually when you have a video that's about statement analysis, like Peter Hyatt's cases, these videos were nothing compared to the written analyses. And these written analyses he had on his blog were nothing compared to the lengthy analyses that he would prepare when he was working on a case. So I figured that while I'm already in it, I'm gonna dive deeper and dig deeper and make this my only case right now. Of course, when you have something like John Benet Ramsey and I come across a really significant statement, an embedded confession, wow, that's when I immediately shift gears and feel like here's an unresolved issue. Here's something that I have to talk about, something I have to deal with right now because it's fresh on my mind. And I have to do it right then and there when something's fresh on my mind, because when it's been on my mind for too long, I've already processed it and I'm already moving on to the next chapter. And that is not a good thing, because trying to rehash something, I need to be right there in it and still working it and processing it in order to let you guys in on my thinking processes and the step-by-step approach that we need to have whenever we analyze a brand new statement. So what I also want to do is help you guys go from the intuitive understanding that something is off about a statement to actually transcribing it and then forget about it. Sounds strange, right? But this is my approach. Forget about it and then at the right time revisit it as if I had never heard of it or seen it before. Because I need to distance myself as much as possible, emotionally and in many other ways, and treat every single statement at face value. Not think about, you know, what I think about these people unless I have some facts there. I cannot let anything taint me. And now I haven't listened yet to this video where we are able to see Sebastian Rogers as Katie saw him. She said, and live the life that he deserves to live. She acknowledges that Sebastian didn't deserve the life, which wasn't a life, in my opinion, that he lived under her and Chris Foot. Sebastian did not deserve it, and she knows it. But what she is also doing is making an excuse for what she did. This statement is the prime example of what a guilty person will say to justify, as she may see it, putting somebody out of his misery. And Julia has sent me also an NBC Dateline article, right? Was it NBC Dateline? Let me look at it really, really quick. And I want to read you parts of it. She talked about Sebastian was going to go to a school where he was going to work with animals, which I know he would have loved. Let me see where it is. Oh yeah, he is a beauty. Well, okay, she said he had every intention of coming back home. So you're telling us that he walked out. We have to assume he walked out once again. Her storytelling. Let me read you the whole thing. He had every intention of coming back home. They actually have, he was excited to start taking agriculture classes at school. They actually have animals in the school that the kids will work with as they advance through the classes, Katie said. And that was what he really wanted. He wanted to get in there and start working with the animals. He wanted to get in there. Where did you try to put Sebastian in there, Katie? He had every intention of coming back home. How do you know that? He didn't walk out of that door. How do you know what his state of mind would have been? She builds a foundation, and that foundation is going to be the narrative that she expects you to accept. She demands that you accept the foundation, which is a narrative that she wants to imprint in people's minds. She says all the time, coming home, coming home. She uses certain key phrases again and again and again. Outside the search radius, again and again. She has had in the past, I believe, great successes when it comes to repeating a lie often enough So it would become the truth in many people's minds. And another thing, she described that morning. Monday morning, Katie went to her son's room. It was about 6 in the morning when I went to wake him up for school, Katie said. I went in his room and I was like, dude, time to get up. Normally he will like turn and look, and he didn't. And I realized he wasn't in his bed. Really. What a BS story. You walk into his room and you don't see him in his bed. So you need to tell us what he would usually do, and only because he wasn't turning around and looking, that's why you realized he wasn't in his bed. It wasn't the first thing that you saw when you walked in there, that the bed was empty. What a narrative nonsense. It's just a storytelling time at its best. And I don't think this aired, right? Let me see. What is that? NBC News, the website. Katie Proudfoot records the evening by Anna Turning. Katie remembers hearing a noise come from Sebastian's room around 10 p.m. I hollered out to him and he answered me, Katie said. I didn't think a whole lot of it. Okay. An hour later, Katie went to bed. About an hour later. It would have been 11, right? Not 12, not midnight. She had no idea her life would be very different in the morning. Yeah, right. Monday morning, Katie went to her son's room. Okay. Normally, he will, yeah. The following moments are every parent's worst nightmare. So Katie says now, I looked everywhere in and around the house. In and around the house. Did she go into the yard? And I couldn't find him. I checked his bathroom and he wasn't in there. Okay, now think about this. She looked everywhere. Again, everywhere. When you say I looked everywhere, it means okay, that's nothing left to do. That takes time, people. I couldn't find him. Katie said, I checked his bathroom and he wasn't there, in there. And I was like, okay, well, maybe he went to the kitchen. You know, maybe he got up before me. And so I went through the house, and when I didn't see him, is when I was starting to panic a little bit. So I went through the whole house, and she only panicked a little bit. And she looked everywhere. And she says, the bathroom. Katie said, and I ran through like literally, every area of the house, every area, right? Every closet, everything. And that's when I really started to panic. So she says everywhere again. When they tell you they've searched everywhere, that is the red flag. Because a parent of a missing child will think of more and more places that they haven't searched. And they will not be done with it. They could have missed something. Then they will expand. They will be restless, non-stop searching. And that's a hormonal reaction to having your child missing, especially for a mother. Katie says she jumped in her car and began driving around the neighborhood. Katie also called her husband, Chris, Sebastian's stepfather, who was out of town on business trip. It's like terror, Katie told Dateline. What happened? Where did he go? I was in my car and I stopped and I asked one of the ladies walking her dog. And she was like, you see, when she says I was like, or she was like, no, it didn't happen. No, I haven't seen him. And it really like started to kick in at that point. Really, it started to kick in. It didn't kick in yet. That you went everywhere through the house, and mind you, that was supposed to have happened within 1 to 2 minutes. Originally, it was 1 minute flat, but she realizes there's a problem with that. The problem is what I've been pointing out again and again, which I'm sure, hi Katie, she heard on my channel that I that she didn't do anything. And she said I had already called. The first thing she did in the morning was call Chris. She waited, the alarm went off, or she was already up, but it was supposed to be 6 o'clock. She got up, and 6 or 3 she called her husband. Oh yeah. I was in my car and I stopped and I asked one of the okay. Katie says she then headed to Sebastian's school, and I got on a three-way call with Chris and the Sumner County Sheriff's Office. By the time she got there, she was told to turn around and head home because law enforcement was headed to their house. It was just like more and more people were coming, and everyone was looking. And every time someone came back and they didn't have him, Katie couldn't finish the thought. Sebastian is on the autism spectrum. You wouldn't recognize him as a special needs person just by looking at him, Katie said. He is smart and capable and functional, but he does have areas that he struggles in. Katie told Dateline that Sebastian does respond differently in different situations. He does have that sensory issue with loud noises, specifically like spontaneous ones. Can you imagine how this kid suffered having this low-life stepfather who yells and screams on the top of his lungs, probably drunk out of his mind, being sensitive to noises already? How disturbing that must have been. So, in addition to the beatings, I'm sure he had a ton to tell, which is why CPS kept coming. So he does have that sensory issue with loud noises, specifically like spontaneous ones. So he does avoid sudden loud noises. Yeah, he couldn't avoid it living with you, though, right? This is also a type of victim blaming, that he was too sensitive. All the stuff that went on in the house that no kid should have to live through, he was just too sensitive. He also hates bugs and would avoid any area where he saw one, according to his mother. Yeah, but he went out barefoot, sure. What Sebastian loves is water. Swims like a fish. Again, she introduces water here. And Chris keeps repeating into thin air. So when he made this comment, don't mess with a blue collar guy because we have access to acid. Yeah, equally dissolved. Acidic gases and water. There we go. The search efforts for Sebastian were immediate and intense. This was a very large-scale response, Sheriff Eric Craddock of the Sumner County Sheriff's Office told Dateline via email. Again, I don't care how much of an effort it was. There are no results, and you messed up the first. It took you 3 days to turn things around and realize, oh man, maybe we should look at the Proudfoots. Craddock directed Dateline to the TBI newsroom for more information. That morning, the Sumner County Sheriff's Office issued a missing persons report to begin efforts to locate Sebastian. A TBI endangered child alert was pushed out and was then elevated to a statewide Amber Alert. What was the reason for that Amber Alert, people? It would be a child in danger, right? Usually that's. The website states Due to Sebastian's love of water, pools in the neighborhood were searched. Dive teams were brought in, and bodies of water around the neighborhood and beyond that area were searched, including caves. All right, great. No results, right? So he's telling you about efforts. He is not telling you about leads. He's not telling you about anything worth following or where you can help looking. He is only talking about what they have done. We have done everything. Don't blame us. Damage control. In his email to Dateline, Sheriff Craddock elaborated on what resources were used in the search for Sebastian. Everything. You see, he says everything. Foot, canine, drone, air assets, fixed wing and helicopter, horse, mounted patrol, USAR. Resources from across the state and federal government assisted with the case, he wrote. His search during the week he went missing was extremely large scale. One thing that you will realize in statement analysis is just how much deception is going on in public statements in general when they don't have anything, when they want you to only focus on what efforts they have made and avoid the serious questions. What does it look like? He doesn't want to tell you what the 180-degree turnaround was, where they went from looking out there to the Proudfoots. When did the coin drop? When did they realize something was wrong? At what point? Or what was the straw that broke the camel's back? What was it? He doesn't want to go into any of these details. He's avoiding that. The sheriff's office even employed some unconventional search methods in its attempt to locate Sebastian. Notably, they encouraged those participating in the search to play Sebastian's favorite music in an attempt to draw him out. Okay, great. This advice was called in by a citizen. I tried and will continue to try anything to bring a resolution to this case. A resolution, yeah. He doesn't say to find Sebastian because he knows they're not going to find him. And neighbor Barbie also hinted at that when the TBI came in, they acted like they already knew. They were not that interested in anything additional. And they didn't want to talk about anything. And they gave some really strange answers. Avoiding what really happened. Despite the intense search efforts, no clues were turned up that led authorities to Sebastian's whereabouts. Yeah, we know that. According to Sheriff Craddock, the Amber Alert for Sebastian is still active. No clues, well, turned up, yes. But I'm pretty sure there were a lot of clues everywhere that they could no longer deny. Katie believes that wherever Sebastian went, he had every intention of coming back home. He was excited to start agricultural classes at school. They actually have animals in the school that the kids will work with as they advance through the classes, Katie said, and that was what he really wanted. He wanted to get in there and start working with the animals. What are you thinking about when you're saying get in there? What box did you try to put him in? Or what area? Digging, bulldozer. Sheriff Craddock wants to assure the public that the investigation into Sebastian's disappearance is active and ongoing. How active, man? Come on. Our team is committed to following every lead, analyzing every piece of evidence, and uncovering the truth about what happened to Sebastian Rogers, he wrote in a statement to Dateline. We understand the community's deep concern. Oh, please don't patronize me. I understand your concern. When do people say that usually? You don't understand what some people think. And the desire for answers, and we share that concern. Oh, there we go. However, I urge everyone to rely on verified information from law enforcement rather than online speculation. He's saying the same thing Chrisford is saying. They don't want people to get too close. They don't want to be embarrassed by what they have missed out on. Misinformation can hinder the investigation and distract from our efforts to bring Sebastian home. What efforts are you making? How does it distract to uncover real answers? You see, they want this case to go away. The sheriff would not comment on whether authorities suspect foul play or have any person of interest in the case. Well, at least he didn't have to lie here. He avoided having to lie. He refused. Proudfoot style. Can't talk about it. Our priority is finding Sebastian and bringing resolution to his family and this community, he wrote. If you have any credible information, we ask that you come forward and report it to the appropriate authorities. Together, we will seek justice and the truth. Oh, great. At the time of the disappearance, Sebastian was 5'5" and 120 pounds. I think he was less. He would be 16 years old today. So the writer, yeah, he has brown eyes, blonde brown hair, and was last known to be wearing a black sweatshirt, black sweatpants, and black framed glasses. The Proudfoots believes Sebastian may not have been wearing shoes when he disappeared. Oh, wow. May not have been wearing shoes, really. All his shoes are there. What was he wearing then? Socks? That's why Chris told us that he slept with his socks on. Sometimes, why did he feel the need to say that? Because there are no footprints anywhere on your grass or on your, you know, every pair of shoes in his house have been accounted for. Chris Proudfoot told Dateline. All the shoes that I can think of that we had in the house that I can think of. You don't know how many pairs of shoes he has? Really? Katie and Chris want to make the pub. You see, he's being vague because he wants to avoid it and seem like I am not sure, you know? Katie and Chris want to make the public aware of some of Sebastian's identifying features and tendencies. He has large freckles on the back of his neck and walks on his toes. Mm, he walks on his toes. That's actually a bad sign. That's a child that's scared, that's tiptoeing literally to avoid being in trouble, I think, psychologically speaking. Not a steady foundation. He was very unsure within his life, very uncertain, very scared, very timid. He knew that every little thing he could do to draw attention to him may result in him being beaten or screamed at in that house of two drunks, allegedly. That's what at least Seth talked about, that Katie would get very drunk and very loud and started MMA fighting, like allegedly, from what I recall. Very violent tendencies, very violent person, trying to portray herself like a victim here, trying to make it look like a kidnapping where Chris, is she wants him to be bullying, to come off like a bully, and her, the way she sits down, the way she places herself is sort of like, oh, I don't really have a voice and I'm just helpless. And yeah, she's good at that, I guess. It seems to have worked in the beginning. Of course, now people have learned a lot more, but a few people have made these statements in the beginning. It looks like a kidnapping here. She is extremely self aware and knows exactly how her words and her actions come across, what effect everything has on the listeners and viewers. He also has a unique run, putting his arms slightly behind his back and leaning forward. They urge anyone who thinks they see Sebastian to not approach him. Why? But instead take pictures and call 911. Really? Take pictures? That sounds pretty crazy, right? You mean I'm taking a picture? Why? Because I'm going to walk away or let him walk away and then call 911? You would expect stay right there with him. Call 911 immediately, but don't leave his side. Don't let him get away. Please take pictures because there's no sense of urgency here. They want 911 to be bothered with this garbage. False sightings, that's what they hope for, to keep people busy, looking in all the wrong directions. So nobody looks at him or his parents. Let law enforcement handle it. If somebody spots him, please, but please stay vigilant. Or really, let law enforcement handle it if somebody spots him. But please stay vigilant. Chris said. No, if you have a missing child, law enforcement, yes, normally they do a much better job. But still, that job can never be good enough until a child is found. And people like Seth, he is encouraging the people to help him search. He doesn't say let law enforcement handle it. Please, if you see my son, if you have my son, there are many things that law enforcement cannot help you with, people, in these moments. Law enforcement cannot be everywhere all the time. That's why people take things into their own hands and do their own volunteer searches, because unless, if you listen to Eric Craddock, he says everywhere, everything, everywhere has been searched. Right? Didn't he say that? Everywhere? No, they can't search everywhere. They can't have gone everywhere. Look at the case of Brian Laundrie. How they searched for him when they couldn't find him. But they must have missed a few spots here. Or maybe some of the searchers were just, for show doing searches and said, yeah, area is clear. And they didn't really search. They wanted to look like they were helping, but didn't really help. People do that all the time. And then there are people like this lady who had the false sighting of Sebastian because she wanted to look important and feel important. And even after they realized it wasn't him, she still didn't want to give up. And she still wanted to make it look like she actually saw Sebastian. People are full of it, dude. They're full of it. Law enforcement officers know. Every law enforcement officer that's ever taken statements from people, they know people make stuff up. That's just the way it is, guys. A TBI newsroom asks anyone with credible information about Sebastian to reach out, blah, 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 yeah. Photographic information, the FBI is offering 50,000 by Anna Turning. Okay, great. So she doesn't have a high opinion of Sebastian at all. Even though she realizes he didn't deserve to go through what he went through, but she gave up on him. And when she talked about him being in the pool and the picture of him on this flamingo floaty, yeah, he looked like this cool guy. In her eyes, Sebastian is anything but a cool guy. He is not the type of guy who's gonna have a great life, in her opinion. Not the kind of guy whom a girl would be attracted to. So it was like a patronizing kind of thing. Yeah, he looks like almost like a cool guy in this picture, because in her opinion he is not. He is not the type of guy that she would have, that she could imagine, that she would have wanted for her boyfriend when she was that age. And another statement, of course, that she made that I didn't put up there in my last video. This year has been the worst nightmare I could have imagined. To come alive. When do nightmares come alive? When you can't escape them. And they're trying to escape what took place, the removal of Sebastian Rogers, the fact that he passed away, and he's coming alive, back alive to haunt them in nightmares through the people who care about him, through the people who are interested in the case, through all of the people that are paying attention to something that she thinks isn't worth paying attention to. And she is not actively trying to put him down. She knows better than that. But she can't help but doing so via her own language. Let's see.
He wants friends. He's a pretty happy kid usually. He's high functioning. I mean, he's fully able to hold a conversation, and he walks and he loves to run. He likes to build little. We FaceTime family while we were eating so he could brag because that's something he likes to do. My son doesn't run. He's not a runner. He's
Really? Okay.
never run away before. I don't know why. I don't know why he walked out the door. He loves.
Back to the script. The break. Back to the script.
It's Minecraft. The game that he has is not online. He has the Switch. He doesn't have any extracurricular activities.
She's trying to remember the keywords to get back to the script.
Stubborn. He loves to help. He loves running, and he loves to play his games and his fidgets and Uno. Lord, that's one of his favorite games right now. Favorite color is green.
But she does well in remembering to go to not address him in the past, in the present. That she does well with, and she knows that's probably one of the first things she's learned in about statement analysis. Do not ever refer to him in the past. She remembers that one. So certain things she has in the back of her mind at all times, and she sticks with it. It's just keeping the details straight when she is being confronted, because I believe says that she's the type of person who's very verbose, gets drunk allegedly, and now she has to completely do a 180. She has to present herself in a way that is completely unlike her. And it's, by the way, very, very difficult. And just because you are great at speech writing, when it comes to performing it, it's very hard. When that woman asked her how she's coping, and she realized this woman is buying her story hook, line, and sinker, Katie couldn't help but showing her duping delight. She showed it very visibly.
Oh God, he loves music. He loves, like, when we were in California and the school had this lap thing to gain money. It was a fundraiser, and every year he was, I did this many laps. I did this many laps. I mean, I've got T-shirts where they would write on his back every time the kids went around. They'd mark a mark on the back, and they'd keep running. And he just had marks all the way across his back.
So what I don't get is Chris always talks about, well, he wasn't into sports at all. But running and swimming would be sports. Did they do anything for him? He had no extracurricular activities. Well, why didn't they put him on a running team? Why didn't they do make any type of effort. That's because Katie was completely burned out on Sebastian, completely burned out on him. She had no desire to do anything to help him better himself. And he couldn't sleep at night because he was not active. He sat around in this damn house with nobody to talk to. They wouldn't talk to him. He had no friends over. They made zero efforts. Absolutely zero.
Um, he likes playgrounds. He's being dirty.
Did they take him to a playground? How often? No, you took him there to hang out with little girls. Your niece, Chris's niece, not your niece, Katie, not our niece. It's Chris's niece. It's your niece-in-law.
He don't like being dirty. He loves animals, but he's terrified of bugs. Oh, yeah. Even a fly, and he's like, oh!
You see, this is actually a very emasculating statement. She is looking at Sebastian through the eyes of Chris, who puts him down constantly because he didn't meet his expectations of what a male child should be like. So when she, ooh, kind of like a little girl, right? She imitates his sound. Is that very flattering? Would you talk like that about your child, even if your child made this type of sound? When the child is missing, just goof on him, make fun of him? And didn't he try to stand up for his mom one time when she had an argument with Chris? I bet you they were yelling at each other all the time. But Katie can handle herself. I mean, when she went through this training, who knows? She could have kicked his A, you know, Chris's. Maybe, who knows? I mean, she may have had some math skills here, you know. At least she could have also been physically more than capable to control Sebastian. So.
And track, and he is just on it, and he is all about it. He loves.
That laugh always stands out to me, by the way. Like out of place and awkward.
Loves playing games. He can go to Culver's. He knows where Culver's is because Culver's has malt.
Extra malt.
He loves malt. Extra malt.
Extra malt.
Every time. Extra malt. And that he knows how to get to his daddy's.
Like a mom who really cares about details here.
You know that. He, for the most part, is happy. He likes to laugh and joke and tell you all about everything and then some. He loves games. He loves video games.
We know.
He loves to play with his Legos. Even building things.
Well, yeah, he was alone in this house, so of course, I mean, this is not just an autism thing. This is just like, what do I do with myself and do with my time here in this house where no one's talking to me?
With me, we build little projects here and there, but
we? Did you?
He's
here and there, right? As in never, hardly ever.
He's always a character. But he fidgets constantly. He loves shiny.
Fidget sounds to me like he was annoying you. Fidgets sounds like something not that flattering for a teenage boy. As in, stop fidgeting. You see, even though she's trying to come off with as a good mother, the more she talks, the more she reveals how she looks at Sebastian. As being very uncool. He almost looked like a cool guy in this one picture. And that stood out to her. She felt a need to say he was on that floaty like this cool guy, saying he is absolutely not what she considers to be a cool guy at all. She had zero hope for his future. She didn't think he would ever find a woman. He would ever be, you know, she's so dismissive and also looks at him through Chris Proudfoot's eyes. Can you imagine how they talked about Sebastian? Maybe even in front of him when they were getting drunk together, allegedly. Can you imagine what Sebastian had to overhear? She doesn't interrupt the thing that Chris says when he talks negatively about Sebastian, and she tries not to do that, but she can't help it telling you how she saw him.
He loves shiny pennies, paper clips. He's always like, whenever we go to the grocery store, he always looks on the ground and looks under the register counter, and he's always looking for shiny pennies everywhere. Paper clips. He loves to bend them out of shape and play with them, fidget with them.
Fidget again. What do you think about when you hear the term fidget? Fidget. Nervousness, impatience. Yeah. Not,
He loves playgrounds.
why didn't you take him to a playground? Or I mean, no. Well, when did he? Wait a minute. When did he like playgrounds? 4 years ago, when he was 11, or 4 years before his disappearance, when he was 11. Are you mostly remembering him actually when he was a much younger child? Does he like playgrounds at 15? Do you know what he likes at 15? Other than running, which you haven't taken him to any school, any activities. He had nothing to do, this boy.
I mean, we've said it before, he likes fishing and things like that, but he does. He loves cats. It's his favorite animal. um,
I saw the picture when he was a young child with his cats, and he seemed very happy with the cats. But they took that from him. They didn't make any efforts to. I don't know. What were they saying? They had allergy. I don't know if that's true. I think they didn't want any cats in their new dream house. They wanted it sterile, something that they liked. They didn't want Sebastian outside of the house. Chris sprayed him with the water hose. Take your little retard in the house. It's me or him. They didn't want him to be seen. He didn't fit their image of what they should look like as a perfect couple or family. Dare I say, they were embarrassed of him. The way both of them talk about him, yes, I believe they were embarrassed, ashamed of Sebastian.
oh, he's a good kid.
Oh, really? Now he's a good kid. He's a back to the script. When you have these types of contradictions, then you realize that experiential memory and the script are so far apart from each other. That's why she has such a hard time often getting back into her script, because she gets lost in her own reality. And to find the right connection back to the script is impossible without making it very obvious that now, when even she says all kinds of stuff, says, come home, bring him home, bring him home, bring him home. It's always the same tagline that has absolutely no meaning to her.
This is not normal for him to run away. If I mean, I just he's not a runner.
She needs to acknowledge, knowing that he wouldn't have run away, to tell everybody it's a surprise. I'm just as surprised as you are. I know it makes no sense. I'm just as surprised. From the beginning, she talked about, that she made him look like he was worse than he is. with his autism to sell that story that he ran away.
He doesn't like to be dirty. It's kind of funny because he also doesn't have awareness. Because if you look, he's got chocolate milk on his face because he didn't wipe it off at breakfast. It's fun.
You see, now Sebastian is no longer there to fidget and annoy, so it's easier to have some nicer memories resurface, but only from way back in the distance, way back in time.
He like that. He likes to dip behind the walls and watch, and
What does dipping remind you of? What does it remind her of? Something at the retention pond or something to do with acidic gases dissolved in water?
and then he comes out after I come back and he likes to scare me. He doesn't have a history of being an eloper, which is common, and I have friends with children on the spectrum who do struggle with elopement with their children, but no, Sebastian, that's one thing, it's always been a blessing. He's not been an eloper or a runner. His
Right. That's a blessing. It's always been a. Is it a blessing now? Because he didn't run. He didn't. It's always been a blessing. It's still a blessing because he hasn't run yet.
primary areas are like social and emotional dysregulation issues and things like that. But he's very smart. He's functional. Overall, he's a pretty happy kid. I mean, he's a teenager. He's coming into his hormones.
And that's why he didn't deserve to live You acknowledged his misery, indicating you put him out of it. But he's a happy kid. Okay, he was happier as a kid, as a young kid, yes. But we want to hear about the recent times that you are avoiding. You're skipping over it completely. You're skipping over everything that happened in the last 2 years because you don't want to talk about it, how unhappy he was. You're talking about what happened way back in time before he was starting to stand up for himself.
Angry that he's growing a mustache, but for the most part, he's a happy kid. He can be aggressive when he's upset. He doesn't like punch and hit and throw, but he gets really like aggressive stance or like clipped where he just won't talk to you or.
Yeah, he probably would have been flattened real quick if he did that with two violent parents.
If he's really upset, he like growls. And because Sebastian is an awesome person who deserves to be home. Sebastian's room is always a little bit messy. So Sebastian struggles with maintaining friendships with a lot of the children his age because even with the children that are similar, they tend to have different interests. Sebastian gets very like single mind tracked. Like if he's wanting to talk about like Minecraft, then he wants you to be 100% all about the Minecraft. And so a lot of times, like
again, I don't understand it because kids seem to like Minecraft. Is that them making an excuse why they didn't want him to socialize with other children, go to other children's homes, have other children in his house because they didn't want people to know what was going on in their house? So they're trying to make it sound like nobody liked him. But Minecraft is the most popular game among teenage boys, according to Google.
The Minecraft. And so a lot of times, like, other children will be like, yeah, that's cool, but I want to do this. And he'll be, so they wind up getting frustrated with each other. And that's where a lot of his, like, struggles making friends come into play.
So that was similar to what Christopher told us before, right? So they're telling each other stories. Oh, this works well. Let me tell the same story.
Is because personal space is also another part of it where
They wanted him to be invisible and inaudible at home. So likely any time he made any type of sound, they considered that to get in your personal space, in my opinion.
Disregards like what we call the personal bubble. Just because he just doesn't have that awareness, like he'll just be right here in your face.
And Christopher has awareness?
But he's capable of getting along with other kids. I mean, and he does, but typically for shorter periods of time. At school, he does pretty well with a lot of the kids. But even that, they have to take breaks, because and not him, but not just him, but even the other kids, they each have their unique interests and their unique ways of thinking and doing things, and so they get to each other and they have fun, and then something will happen and one or both will get frustrated, and so they got to time out and whatnot. We have met some kids, especially because I like to take them out and go do things, especially in like public settings like the festivals and bowling and stuff like that, to get them out and get them, it gives an opportunity to interact and work on those like kind of social skills and meeting people and being appropriate when meeting people, responding, with appropriate emotions and stances, like if someone's being polite and says hello to you, to match that energy and not come at a different energy, and we have like a scale that we work on, like what is the problem that's frustrating you, is it like a 0, 1, 2, 3, and then okay, well, what's your response to that, type thing. So yes, he does interact with other children and people, but he struggles to form those like stronger bonds with people. No, although he's in denial. He doesn't want to tell Mama that he likes girls. He's definitely got a unique rhythm. He loves to dance. Utterly loves going over.
Hey guys, I just realized it's been almost an hour, so please stay tuned for part 2.